just goes everywhere. All right. So, I've been working on a new swing, and I've been working on it the last couple days. I finally have it, I feel like, calibrated enough to where I can say I feel comfortable taking it on the course. I don't know what my distances are going to be like, to be honest. They're probably going to be like 10, 15 yards less, which is totally fine because I can work back up to good distances. I just need to get my swing in a place where I can make flush contact again, and everything else can go from there. So basically the new swing is this. I talked about it yesterday, but the old swing would be kind of something like where I come to the top, as soon as I get to the top, I like dip my knees down, and I do that like in conjunction with the club head falling down, and I like kind of use the gravity of the club head, I use the weight of the club head, I use, you know, my body weight dropping down into the shot, and then I just kind of hold my hands in and turn my hips and let all that potential energy come swinging through the golf ball. And that does supply a lot of power. I've talked about it, you know, recently I've been hitting my pitching wedge like 160, and that's cool, but it's not functional if I'm not making perfect contacts at least 90% of the time. So the new swing is that I'm pretty much not doing any sort of dip. I'm just keeping my head still and using the same sort of mechanics except for the dropping the knees, and I'm just focusing purely on the ball and the ball only, and then making sure that I make flush contact even if the swing is pretty calm. So this is the swing, and it's still a powerful swing, it's just not what it was. Yeah. So that's kind of the idea, is just take back a little bit of someone to trying to get after it and really focus on proper contact, because, you know, that's kind of how it's always gone. It's like I'll have numbers that are here, and then I'll change the technique, and then the numbers fall down. But then once I get, you know, comfortable with that technique, the numbers should jump above where they were. So I'm kind of just trying to balance that, because the numbers will jump back up. I don't really care too much about numbers anymore, to be honest. So that's the idea. Driver swing is not changing. The driver swing is so good right now. I can't mess with that ball. Yeah. Also, new-ish club is a TaylorMade Gapper mid 3-iron. It's a hybrid iron, and basically I got this club like a month ago, maybe 3 weeks ago. I got it off Facebook Marketplace, got it for a steal. Drove out to pick it up. On the way home, I stopped at the driving range, and I hit 75 balls, and I had not hit one single one, straight or flush. So, the club went back in the bag for the since I got it. I've never swung it on the course, but I was messing around today, like I said, with the new swing, and I kind of felt like this would be the ultimate test, because if I can make good contact with this, I can make good contact with anything. So I'm trying to hit one low, a little bit of a fade action. It should hit the net about here. Well, a little bit lower than that, about here. Well, I mean, it's still great contact. I don't know what it would have done in the air, but that felt really good, so whatever. I think it would have been fine. It's a little too close to tell. I'm going to try to really emphasize that fade swing. Really get one far right over here. Not far left, but you get the idea. That's another thing I've been working on is like I've been getting a little too close to heel, which if I could prefer, if I could choose one side to miss on, always gonna be on the toe, because if you're hitting the heel, that's like scarily close to bringing in the hosel, and I just don't want to have the hosel anywhere close to the ball, so trying to work away from the heel because I've been living there lately. That's another thing I'm working on. Yeah, that's pretty much perfect. That's exactly what I want the swing to be doing. Now I'm going to step it up one more notch and use an even harder club. This is a Persimmon 4-wood. This club is not easy to hit. Does great when you hit it well, but thank you very much. Gonna guess your handicap in one swing. 92. That's it's a little higher than it is. Handicap's somewhere in the 80s right now, so I'm shooting about 150, 160, yeah, somewhere in that range. All right. Anyways, I don't have much daylight left, so I'm just gonna try and have at least mostly flush strikes for the rest of these balls. And if I can do that, I will be happy. Yeah, so that's a little bit off the heel. Still a fine shot, but the other problem is that I play a draw. That's my main shot shape. So if I'm hitting the heel, you know, the ball's not going to draw. It's going to go straight at best. But usually it'll go off to the right. So if I'm playing a draw and I'm setting up for a draw, when I hit the ball and it goes right, it's like, it's gone. Like it's not even close to where I want it to go. It's, you know, it's a double cross. Even though, you know, it's not really a club face issue exactly, it's like if I hit off the toe and I'm playing a draw, unless I'm hitting a driver and I like really, really hook it, it should stay relatively close to where I want it to be. So if I can anticipate a hook as opposed to, you know, a hosel shot, slice, whatever, then I can have a little more control as well. That's really all I'm concerned with, is just not, like, I'm so tired of hitting the ball out of bounds and like ruining rounds from that. It's, like, the courses I've been playing lately have been relatively open, but on the few opportunities I've had recently to play like harder courses, I've just been getting demolished because I've got super tight tee boxes, I've got out of bounds on like both sides of the hole, and it's just like really hard to post a good score when you're hitting the ball, you know, 320 or 330. You have to be so precise. And then if you're taking approach shots from like 200 plus yards out, a lot of times those courses are not super open around the greens too, so you have to be so precise that having like an unpredictable miss that like just sticks out right is absolutely devastating. It just ruins your game. It ruins your score immediately. Like one out of bounds shot pretty much takes you out of a PR round when you're trying to shoot in 70s. So yeah, no more out of bounds for me. That's kind of the goal for this whole thing. That was pure. What's funny too, like about the hosel, and I'm not gonna talk a whole lot more. I got no daylight anyways. But one of the funny things about hitting the hosel is that in your mind, it always feels like you're hitting the end of the club because the ball just shoots right and it like rings your hands in a similar way to hitting off the end of the bat in baseball. So it's like in your mind, you think you're hitting the end of the club. So even if you know you hit the hosel, it's like it's really hard to get your body to not, you know, not cast the club out and hit the hosel again. So that's like another thing where, you know, you have so much room towards the end of the club That's where I'm trying to live. Dude, I literally spoke it into existence. I was so far from the ball right there too. And that is inner hosel, which is crazy. Basically topped it and hit the inner hosel at the same time. Just gotta bring those hands in. I'll be okay. It's a little bit thin. That's not terrible. It's not good at all though. If I get one more bout with this club, I'm gonna go back to the gapper. That was pure, but I don't want to swing this anymore. I want to finish on a fun, positive note if I can. So I'm gonna go for the 4-iron, which is not the easiest club, but it'll be a good time. It's supposed to be a decimal in there, so like a 9.2. That's actually really close. I currently am a 7.0, but I haven't logged a ton of rounds. I only logged 7. I just got registered with USGA about 2 weeks ago, so I haven't gotten to play a ton of rounds yet in order to get like an official handicap. But the average differential, my best 3 of 7, is 7.0. So playing to about a 7 handicap right now. That is subject to change. Hopefully it's lower after my log 20 rounds. We'll see. It never gets old. Hitting a pure shot with long iron, it just feels so good. You can just feel the power of the club when you hit one flush with something like this, like a 4-iron blade. It's just like, just feels so good. It's like hitting a home run. Ball's too far away. That's another thing I'm working on too, is with the new swing, since I'm not like dipping down into it, I can stand a lot closer to the ball, which is really helpful because the closer you are, the easier it is for your hand-eye coordination to kind of like work with you instead of against you. So standing a little closer, just dropping the club like right in the slot, keeping the head still. Yeah. Just like that. And that one is a little tiny bit towards the toe, which is kind of exactly what we want. So like I said, like that ball's close to me, and I'm trying to train myself to get further away from the toe or from the heel, so I'm not taking any chances of hitting the hosel. One more. That one just felt a little chunky, I think, but still solid contact. But that's, you know, the mat can lie to you in that way. But I do want to finish with something kind of fun, hitting the 8-iron. And I'm gonna play with a bunch of different shot shapes because I have a hard time deviating from the draw. I love playing a draw. It's like, it's so satisfying, but at the same time, like there's times where you can't hit a draw. There's times that you need to have a fade. With really every club in the bag, I can hit a fade with like a 3-iron or 4-iron. Driver, I can hit fades, but with like anything lower than I would say a 4-iron, I can't hit a fade. So I'm trying to work on that. And it is because I closed the club face before you jump say that in the comments. It is because I play with a closed face, but the way that I try and hit fades is by opening the face a little bit. I guess bringing it back a little closer to square, and then putting it a little forward in the stance. And it changes the swing plane just a little bit, and then the club face is in position too. So try and hit one on this left side of the net here. Okay. I think that would have been faded, to be honest, but I never know back here. You only know if you're hitting a laser beam low and right, then you know it would be a draw. But you never know if you're gonna hit a pull, like a straight pull left, like you don't know. So that's one of the problems of having no simulator back here, but soon, hopefully I can afford one and we'll be able to get that going. I mean, once again, that feels like a fade. The club, I can feel it. I'm pulling it out to in, but I don't really know. So we're gonna go back. I got 8 balls left. I'm gonna try and go 8 for 8. Just hit 8 flush, mostly straight draws. So those are gonna hit the net about here. I'm just focusing on pure swinging, just easy, nice contact. Like that. And that's what I'm talking about, where it's like the swing felt so off the last this is what's kind of funny. The swing has felt so off for the last 3 weeks. And in those 3 weeks, I have had my 2 best rounds ever. I've had my 3 best 9-hole stretches ever. I've shot 37 on 9 3 times. I've shot 38 on 9 once at a super difficult course. I had 5 birdies in a row a couple weeks ago. So it's like I'm playing the best I've ever played, and my swing with irons has never been more lost. So if I can get my iron game dialed back here, it could be really crazy. We could be playing actually scratch golf, because in my round a couple days ago, right? I shot a 78, my personal record, and I was even par through 12 holes. I had just chipped in for birdie on hole 12, and that brought me back to even on the day. And then from that point forward, I went on to have 6 straight bogeys for the final 6 holes. And I chunked iron shots on 5 of those 6 holes. So it's like, those are 5 mistakes that should never be happening at this level. You can't be chunking iron shots. So it's like those 5 mistakes cost me at least 5 strokes. And those 5 strokes are the difference between shooting a 78 and a 73. So, and who knows, maybe if I would have stuck in it and had more greens in regulation in that stretch, who knows, I could have broke par. And so, yeah, I'm playing really clean golf, except for irons. So if I can, it's mosquitoes. But if I can get that dialed in under control, there's no reason we can't play to a 5 handicap in the next month. So, very exciting stuff. Because like I said, I'm playing to a 7 right now, and I'm chunking half my iron shots, which is ridiculous. But yeah, all right, 7 more shots, all on the right side of the net. All want to be medium high on the net, just flush, easy swings. Just like that. And it'll be dark by the time I'm done, so then I'll go inside, have a little afterword, and we'll get on with this. Then I gotta get back to work. Yeah, it's right in the middle. That's dead center in the face. That's awesome. Another one, right in the middle of the face. You can see the outline of the ball on the club, which is just so helpful. All right, 3 more. Just gotta finish strong. Like I said, I've had like, I don't know, I've had like probably 10 flesh shots in a row at this point, which is just, it's miles better than even yesterday. Yesterday I couldn't even hit 8 out of 10 flush with like a pitching wedge, which is, for me, that's really bad. All right, come on. Awesome. Awesome, awesome, awesome. 2 more. 2 more flush shots, and we're golden. I was a little thin, a little towards the toe, but still not a bad shot. It was mostly flush. Well, like 85% flush. So I gotta finish with one that's really like perfect, just nice, clean contact. Let's do it. That was nice, but I want 1 more. So a little bit better contact. That was pretty much perfect. It's just a little bit, tiny bit towards the toe. And like I said, that's what I'm trying to train away from. So I want to end with one at least in the middle, or maybe a little bit towards the heel. Wait, no. Sorry, I had that backwards. That was towards the heel, one towards the toe. Let's do it. Ah, that thinned it. That was center of the face, but a little thin, so 1 more. Gotta end flush, center face. Yeah. There you go. Awesome. Cool. That was a great session. I probably just hit like maybe like 90 balls. I'm gonna set the camera on. Okay. I just hit like 90 balls, and I think that Eric Rainey. Hey, what's up, Dom? No way. Is that Eric Rainey that I know, Eric Rainey? That would be wicked. But yeah, so I just hit like 90 balls, and I would say like at least 75 were flush, which isn't, it's not perfect. I want to be closer to like 90% flush, but that was like at least like 80%, maybe 85% flush. Dude, no way. Welcome, Eric. That's so sick. Spreading the word. Thank you, dude. Cool. I'm gonna plug in my, damn, I should have grabbed the tripod, but yeah, so like I'm saying, the game is in the best place it's ever been, and the irons are the worst they've been in like 8 or 9 months. So if I can get the irons to catch up to the wedges, the driver, and the putting, it's gonna be unreal to see what we can go out and score these next few weeks here. And then I'll probably have 20 full rounds logged in a matter of, I've got 7 logged right now. I'll probably have 20 logged, and I would say like a month. If I can do 13 rounds this next month, that would be sweet. And yeah, I've been on the grind with work because I've been a broke motherfucker. Like I've been putting all my time and money into golf, and so I just have not been working. And so yeah, but I've been working very hard the last few days, kind of like buying myself some time, kind of like the whole, and I don't know if I've talked about this much recently, but basically I have a little business. I work for myself, and I can make really good money. But what I really want to do is do this. I want to golf for a living, and I want this channel to be, the means to make that happen. And so, um, I've been kind of just investing all my time into this. And if things continue at the pace they've been kind of going at, I should be able to be making money on YouTube, hopefully in the next few months here. And if I can do that, then I can kind of subsidize what I make on here with my actual job, and then I can work less doing what I normally do. And if that becomes the case, the more time I'll have to put into golf and practicing. And if I can get to a point where I'm able to practice for like, if I can practice like it's my full-time job, it's gonna be unbelievable what I'll be able to do. So I'm just so excited for that. And like I said, so I've been golfing now for a year and 2 months, and I'm a single digit handicap, and I had to take, like, in the last 14 months, I've had to take probably 3 total whole months off, either due to finances, due to personal hardships, and then getting hurt. Like, all 3 of those things were like a month each that I took off. And then, like I couldn't golf as much as I wanted to for a lot of this past 14 months. But if I could, like I said, if I could golf every single day and I could practice every single day, I think scratch in 2 years is going to be a certainty. And honestly, the main goal that I have that I think, it makes people upset, I understand. But the main goal is that I want to be plus handicap in 2 years. And if I could get down to a plus handicap by the end of my second year, I've got 10 months to do it. I've got all winter to grind. Where I live, you can golf year round. Make a Patreon. I've thought about it, but to be honest, like, I don't know. I feel weird doing that. And for what it's worth, like, I make, like, I should be working more. If I want to fund this, I want it to be like my own funding, because I've gotten really lazy about that, and I make more than enough to be able to support this as long as I just work. So I want to be, I don't know, I want to fund it myself, but I've thought about it. I just feels a little bit wrong. But basically, like, yeah, I think that if I can keep up the pace, I think plus handicap in the end of my second year is possible. And if I can get to a plus handicap in the next 10 months, I mean, who knows what I could get to in a matter of another year. And by the time that, 2 years hits in 10 months, I should be making enough money from YouTube to be able to pretty much afford to golf every day and to be practicing whenever I'm not golfing. And dude, who knows? Who knows? Maybe I could get to like a high plus handicap. Who knows? Maybe by like 3 or 4 years, if I get to like a +5, maybe +6. I know that sounds completely insane, but at the same time, if I said 14 months ago that I'd be shooting in the 70s right now, after having never golfed before, I think everyone else would say that's insane too. Insane to think that I could pull that off, but I have, and so I just I feel very, very good about the future of this whole thing, and I think that we're headed in the right direction. So I'm so glad to have that net back too, because I didn't have it. That's another thing too. My biggest point of practice was when I had the net in the backyard that I was hitting into like every day, and the net ripped at like my 7th or 8th month, right after I shot my lowest score. I shot an 81 in my 9th month, and then my net ripped. And like, it's a golf net, like you can't just like hit around the spot it ripped in. The ball still finds a way to that hole. And so I hit the ball like through my neighbor's fence, and then I hit the ball through the mat at the fence like a dozen times, and I was just like, I can't do this anymore. I gotta get a new net. But I just didn't, like I said, I hadn't worked for like 2 months, and I was playing golf almost every day. So I had no money at all. I was actually like $0 balance. and I've been kind of teetering on that as I like put more and more time into this whole thing. And you know, I easily could just like put aside a month and just work every day and probably have enough money to sustain my golfing for like a whole year. But that's if I take one whole month off of golf, I can't let my progress backslide like that. So I have to stay consistent with the progress and keep practicing. So I'm just trying to find the right balance with that. But it was really easy before because, like I said, I had a net. I could hit into that net every single day. I was hitting hundreds of balls every day. I would start with my pitching wedge, and I would work all the way down to a 3 iron, and sometimes like hybrids as well. And I mean, pitching wedge to 3 iron is what, 8 clubs plus a hybrid, and I would hit the entire bucket. At the time, it was 35 balls. So, you know, 35 balls times 8, that's 260. No, that's 280. Yeah. It's 280 balls every day at least. Plus, sometimes, like I said, hybrids, and sometimes I would go and do multiple rounds with a certain club. Then I would do like how many flush in a row. And, you know, there are days that I was hitting 400 balls in the backyard. And so having that practice every single day had my game so dialed. When back then, you know, I was playing in like the low 80s, mid 80s, but my irons were like, it felt like I was like tour level with my irons because every time that I was within 210 yards, I would get on the green pretty much every single time. And I would drop, like, I remember I made a post about it because, like, you know, every few months, I get a little bit not greedy, but I'll seek some validation on Reddit, where I'll be like, okay, you know, I've finally made, you know, progress enough that we'll get some credit. I'll post about it on Reddit and see if I get some credit for it. And you know, I don't know. It's not like I need the credit, but it would be nice, you know, like I don't get it on here a lot. Like there's a lot of people that are very nice and very supportive, but it's not super often that people say, "Hey, like seems like you've put a lot of time and work into this. Like good job." Like that just never happens. People in real life tell me that, but on the internet it's like 10 to 1 people being like, this guy's obviously fucking lying. He's you name it, you know. So yeah, every little while I'll get a little bit desperate and I'll go on Reddit and be like, this time is gonna be the time that they're gonna be like, oh wow, you're doing something interesting, like nice job. And it's never the time. It never works out that way. But basically, I remember I had like a post where I mentioned, it was like when I shot 81, and I posted about it, and people were like, what's, you know, tell us about your game. And so I mentioned, you know, like the driver has been kind of poor. That round, I hit 5 fairways. So I hit 5 fairways, um, and I shot an 81. I think I had 30 putts. So 5 fairways and 30 putts basically means that I was recovering extraordinarily well. Um, and I only had 1 3 putt, but I didn't have a whole lot of 1 putts. Basically, what was happening that round is I was hitting like every single green within 200, 220 yards. And, you know, I remember I mentioned that and someone said, okay, so like, you know, 'cause people were giving me shit, whatever. And I said, like, yeah, like within 100 and 200 yards, like I probably, like, I drop 5 or 6 shots within 10 feet, you know, almost every round. And they were like, yeah, there's just no chance that you were doing that. And I was like, well, I don't know, like I am. And I remember I went to like my local par 3 course where it's like 18 holes, 14 of which are par 3s, anywhere from 75 yards to 220 yards. And I remember I went and played there and I hit every single green except for like 2. And a bunch of those shots were just pure, like right at the flag. And I was like, yeah, like this is, it wasn't even anything out of the ordinary. That's kind of what was happening around that time. I was just hitting every iron so flush. And so I felt really good about that. Um, And then, like I said, my net ripped. Like, my like ability to practice irons was taken from me instantly. And like I said, like I hadn't been working a whole lot, so the idea of going to the range and hitting range balls, um, on the same, like, I mean, if you think about it, if I'm hitting 300 balls a day at the range close to me, that's $50 a day in range balls. And you know, to think about how much that would cost me on a monthly basis, it's like $1,500 plus a month. There's no way I could have afforded that in addition to playing actual rounds of golf. So it was like my progress, my like iron ability just fell out of the sky. And so, hold on, my phone's about to die. And so that was really tough because, like I said, my game outside of irons was pretty terrible. My irons were like my saving grace. And so when they started to kind of like do poorly, it was not good. It was very concerning. And then I started to see my scores kind of go up over the course of the next few months. I would normally be playing. This is funny. I gotta sit on the floor because my charger is. Okay. Anyways, I was shooting in like the mid to low 80s, and then for the few months following, I was having a hard time breaking 90, and it was like so disappointing because my game had just been going so well. And then basically about, I would say 2 months ago, around like month 11, I started to have some really solid rounds. I started to kind of get a hold of things again, and I would be, I would have a round where maybe I was like six over through like 12 or 13 holes, and all I had to do is just par half and bogey half, and I'd break 80 for the first time, and I just would blow it. I would shoot like a triple or a quad. Basically my game was starting to kind of come back, and that was really cool. But I just kept choking, and then recently I had like kind of like some big breakthroughs where I stopped choking. I like finally finished strong. I had my first under 80 round a few weeks ago. Actually, it was 2 weeks ago now. And I shot a 79 with a double bogey to finish, so that was kind of funny. And I had a double bogey on the front nine too, so I had 2 double bogeys in a 79. And then I just had a 78 the other day, which was so pure. I didn't have a single double bogey. But like I said, I finished with 6 straight bogeys. So I was even par through 12, 6 straight bogeys to shoot a 78. So sad. But regardless, the whole point that I'm getting at is that my game was in a certain spot, and because I lost my ability to practice irons, I had to adapt, and I had to really get good with driving and with chipping and putting. And I did. Like, my driving got to be like the best it's ever been. And currently I would say like my driving is like my biggest strong suit. I'm hitting the shit out of the ball. Like, I'm hitting the ball like 320, 330, sometimes like 340 or 350 if I really get a hold of one. So like the game is just in a great spot with the driver. But like I said, the irons are just trash. And so anyways, got the net back. Now we can practice again. And the swing, I mean, tonight, I don't know if you guys there in here now saw, but I was hitting almost every shot pure. And now, I can't wait to get back out on the course and, apply what we've been learning, because I think it's going to be really, really exciting and very interesting. Because, yeah, if I didn't chunk a bunch of irons this past round, I was shot even par. So that's what I can look forward to. I took 3 months off hitting a ball just now in summer. I just played 18 on Monday, and my swing's never been better. Hit all but 2 fairways, green and rig almost every hole. Sometimes break and get rid of bad habits. That makes sense. That's crazy you're able to do that. And I do think that's like true for the most part. The only problem, and this is what I kind of fear, I grew up playing baseball. Baseball was like my whole life growing up. And I went on, I played in high school. I went on to play like in men's leagues. I took like a 5-year break, and I started playing men's league baseball again. And it was like everything came back in a matter of like 3 or 4 months. And then after the 4th month, I went back and tried out for my local college team, and I ended up making the team. My eye bags are rough. But yeah, I made the team. I made the college team at like 24 years old after being rusty for 5 years basically. And a lot of the bad habits that I had when I was playing in high school were gone. So I totally understand that, like in that regard. But at the same time, I played baseball my whole life growing up. And so when it comes to golf, I do fear that because I've only been playing for like, you know, a little over a year, I think that taking that much time off would just totally kill me. Because every time that I've had to take a month off, the last like 3 times, it's been like it's felt like I'm like learning how to start from scratch again. So I'm a little bit afraid to do that. Arash. I play Cordova to feel better about my golf game. Dude, I love Cordova. I honestly, I didn't know you were in Sacramento. So maybe we ought to go hit up Cordova one of these days. I love playing at Cordova. I've played there one time, and I had a ball. I thought it was super fun. 2 Parlay Francois? No, unfortunately I don't. Je m'appelle Moose. That's all I know. But yeah, so I think I got to call this one because, like I said, I need to get to work. I've been, you know, I need to make some bread so I can get the golf game back to the frequency that I want. So I'm going to get going here, but it's been a fun live. It's been very successful. It's been really cool that like so many people have been hanging out in the lives. I haven't been really going live a lot since a few months back, and it's been really cool. So thank you guys for watching, and I'll be I'll be live again sometime soon. And Eric, shoot me a text. We'll get out there. All right, cool. Thanks, guys.